Monday Morning Matters.
Perspectives from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene and you're listening to ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today you're with me on our very beautiful Monday Morning Matters, where we discuss issues within the Southeast Asian region. One of the issues that is still plaguing Southeast Asia is the issue related to the South China Sea. But on the larger scale, of course, we are talking about the China's Maritime Silk Road, which is something that ASEAN is still trying to navigate its way. Hence, our discussion today, ASEAN navigating China's Silk Road, with Commander Ang Chim Hop. He's a researcher at the Center for Maritime Economic and Industries. He has written papers and attended talks at local forums and international conferences on a wide range of maritime issues, including port development, shipping trends, maritime security, and sustainable development of maritime economic activities. First of all, I just want to say welcome to Durian ASEAN.
Thank you, Arlene, for inviting me to Durian ASEAN.
Yeah, and I just want to say that you have such a vast background in working in the Navy and also right now being a researcher. Perhaps you can share a bit more about your background dwelling into this.
Thank you, Arlene. I spent 30 over years in the Navy, and I had the opportunity to serve in the United Nations mission in Western Sahara. And now I am with Maritime Institute of Malaysia, and I'm looking forward to contribute to Malaysian's maritime industry.
That's great. And you have been working with how many years already?
36 years in the Navy.
36 years, wow. And you have been with the Malaysian Navy. That means you have traveled all over the maritime waters in Southeast Asia.
Yes, I'm very fortunate. In the beginning of my career, I was given the opportunity to travel not only in ASEAN. I managed to go to Europe, Far East, and places in Mediterranean.
Wow. And right now, as a researcher, what is your main research area that you are doing?
Okay, I'm in the Center for Maritime Economics and Industries. And basically, my research focuses on shippings, ports, logistics, and all the maritime-related issues in the region, Arlene.
Yeah, and your interest also revolves around China's 21st century Maritime Silk Road, which is a big deal in Southeast Asia currently, especially with the formation of the ASEAN Economic Community, as well as ASEAN strengthening its relations with China and the whole of Asia Pacific. Can you share a bit more what exactly it is?
Okay, lately everybody is talking about the China's 21st century Maritime Silk Road and its impact in Southeast Asia. And let me share with you what is this One Belt, One Road is all about. This idea is mooted by Chinese President Xi Jinping in 2013 in Jakarta to jointly build the Silk Road Belt and the 21st century Maritime Silk Road. The Silk Road economic belt links China and Europe through Central Asia and the Middle East, while the Maritime Silk Road links the coast of China to the west through the South China Sea, Malacca Strait, Indian Ocean, and Arabian Sea. Arlene, you might wonder why the Silk Road on land is referred as belt, while the sea road at sea is referred as a road. Do you like to know or not?
Yes, I mean, I in the past I never really know what's the difference between, why it's called belt.
Let me give you a simple analogy. In the marine industry, transportation goods on land is called shipment, while transportation of goods at sea is called cargo. Do you get the joke now?
Oh, I see. No wonder. So, moving forward on the discussion related to to the Maritime Silk Road. Why China's ambitious Maritime Silk Road means to China's influence in this Southeast Asian region?
Well, the Southeast Asia, one of the fastest growing regions in the world, has always been an attraction to the world superpowers, the United States and China. On the other hand, ASEAN member states continue to rely on the US on security matter. And they are also so keen to take on China's numerous economic scheme and initiatives, the latest being the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, AIIB, and the Silk Road Fund, Arlene.
But why all these are important to Southeast Asia or to China in this case?
As I mentioned earlier, for the China, after 3 decades of high growth, driven by massive investment and export, and becomes the second largest economy in the world. And now China economy faces challenges such as excessive production capacity, serious pollution problems, and imbalanced development. It's also under this backdrop that China have to venture into Southeast Asia through the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road to build more ports, roads, and rail, Arlene.
I see. And how would this translate into China's economy with greater infrastructure building?
China need to expand further from China, from the mainland, because of overcapacity, because of the pollution problems in the country. And now in ASEAN, the 10 member states of ASEAN continues to rely on the US, and also they are so keen to take on China's economic scheme. And now we wonder what is going to happen to this initiative.
I see. Interesting. But when it comes to Southeast Asia, I mean, on the other hand, playing a devil's advocate role here, do you think Southeast Asia is anything interested at all with the Maritime Silk Road?
Sure. These ASEAN leaders had adopted the Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity, or MPAC, in 2010. But some member states face some difficulties to build more connectivity and infrastructure. Now, China see a huge market in upgrading such connectivity and also infrastructure in the region, as well as benefiting its construction business and economic growth. So, Arlene, do you see how now China Maritime Silk Road fit nicely in the ASEAN MPAC?
We will take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on the Maritime Silk Road from China to ASEAN.
Monday Morning Matters.
Perspectives from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene, and you're back with me again, where we discuss issues on Southeast Asia. And this time, of course, we were discussing in-depthly on China's Silk Road, especially on its Maritime Silk Road, which a lot of people might not realize is part of the China's One Belt, One Road policy. And with me is, of course, a person that has been doing quite a research on this particular area. He's a researcher at the Center for Maritime Economy and Industries. I'm speaking with the Commander Ang Chim Huat here. Hey, how are you again?
Good.
Yeah. So continuing our discussion, just now you share just the surface on why the Maritime Silk Road is important to both China and Southeast Asia. But do you think the Maritime Silk Road is in fact a military strategy rather than an economic strategy?
Yes, Arlene. All economic benefits come for a price to pay. many different analysts view the Maritime Silk Road as China's military expansion. In fact, the Silk Road passes through the South China Sea, Malacca Strait, Indian Ocean, and Arabian Sea. And in South China Sea, China's 9-dash line claims almost 80% of the sea and overlaps with some of the ASEAN members' economic exclusive zone claims. In the Straits of Malacca, Arlene, China always have Malacca dilemma, as the bulk of the energy to China passes through the strait. And in the Indian Ocean, China built ports in Sri Lanka and Pakistan, and this is viewed by many analysts as China's string of pearls policy.
What does that mean? Can you explain more?
Okay,
String of pearls policy?
You see, when a country build ports from one country to another, and this will provide logistics facility to the Navy for the ships to get their support while sailing from one place to another place. In this case, when the ports are all connected, the Chinese Navy will be able to sail from South China Sea to the Indian Ocean, passing through Malacca Strait and all the way to Mediterranean, even Europe, by using facility provided by the ports. Arlene?
I see. And how would this impact ASEAN?
Okay, well, as long as ASEAN member states continue to take on the benefit of the China Maritime Silk Road, but at the same time rely on the US on security matter, ASEAN countries will have find themselves caught in the ebbs and the flows of the China-US rivalry. ASEAN will have more and more difficulty to reconcile with these two superpowers, Arlene.
Are you saying that ASEAN should not engage with the US if it wants to ensure greater cooperation with China?
See, ASEAN is a zone of peace, progressive and neutral, and we need development in this region. So there is a reason why many member states in the region are competing to take the fresh investment of the initiative of the Maritime Silk Road, AIIB, and Silk Road Fund, estimated worth about 160 billion US dollar. So
this is under the ASEAN. This is under the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, the funds that you mentioned earlier.
The fund that I mentioned earlier will be used to support the initiative of the Maritime Silk Road.
What are the areas that you will be supporting, if you can mention a few?
From what we analyzed in the institute, we found that most of the development under the Maritime Silk Road will be on connectivity and infrastructure.
In Southeast Asia or in Asia in general?
Oh, the Silk Road covers all the countries along the Silk Road, such as Malaysia, Sri Lanka, India, all the way to Africa and also Europe.
But what about the areas specifically on Southeast Asia? What is the estimated budget that China has reserved for its Maritime Silk Road project?
From what we researched, is estimated to worth about 160 billion.
Just for Southeast Asia?
This is for the whole of the Silk Road.
But if it's just for Southeast Asia, is there any estimated number?
At the moment, we need to find out further on the estimate.
How serious is China towards developing Southeast Asia as part of its Maritime Silk Road project?
Okay, China has always been very interested in this region because Southeast Asia has got very huge populations, and also is a strategic place for ships to pass through, especially Malaysia, where the Straits of Malacca is used for most of the shippings passing through from Europe to Far East and vice versa from Far East to Europe.
Do you think with the more U.S. meddling in the affairs of Southeast Asia, especially with the South China Sea, it will jeopardize China's interest in this region?
No. I noticed the trend now is countries in Southeast Asia are practicing dual approach in which the ASEAN member states continue to take on the economic benefits of the Silk Road, while at the same time depending on the US for security matter. So if this is the case, then the region have to decide which grouping that this ASEAN is going to looking forward to.
I see. We will take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on the China's Maritime Silk Road, this time whether this particular area would be beneficial for China.
Monday Morning Matters
Perspectives
from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. You're back with me again on Drain ASEAN on our Monday Morning Matters, where we discuss about navigating China's Silk Road. How can ASEAN do it, actually? So we discussed in-depthly on the 21st century China's Maritime Silk Road, how it impacts Southeast Asia and China, and how would this actually impact or change the political dynamic of Southeast Asian region. We have here Commander Ang Chin Hap, a researcher at the Center of Maritime Economy and Industry, to answer it for us. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah, this regarding the political dynamic in the region. ASEAN, with its huge population and also the current dynamic growth, will continue to prosper even better under the Silk Road initiative. Now, as you can see, many countries within the region are competing for investment under this initiative, and I'm sure there will be more ports, logistic hubs, and rail roads built in this region, Arlene.
And I think aside from China's AIIB and a lot of other China's investment and trade cooperation with Southeast Asia, we have to look at China's rival, which is the US. And in this case, I'm highlighting the TPPA, or the TransPacific Partnership. How much of it will actually impact China?
Okay, now ASEAN member states has another options of joining another grouping, that is TransPacific Partnership, or TPPA, in which the countries in the region, if join TPPA, will be able to access to a market of 800 million population and GDP of $27.5 trillion. Is a huge amount of money. Now, there are many ASEAN states are already joining in TPPA, and Malaysia is one of the countries joining this grouping. That means to say, Malaysia will be able to export to this huge market, Arlene.
Do you foresee more and more Southeast Asian countries joining the TPPA?
Yeah, at the moment, there are already 12 members in TPPA, and now the US is campaigning to attract more members joining the TPPA. So in the near future, there will be more and more countries joining TPPA.
And China, is it looking forward to joining TPPA?
Yeah, there are some debate on this subject. At the moment, there is no indication of China joining TPPA yet.
But would it benefit China if China joins TPPA?
Yeah, of course, any business or industrial grouping is good for the country. With TPPA, countries who join TPPA will be able to comply to higher business standards such as patents, labor, employment, and with TPPA, countries who join this grouping will be able to improve or enhance their industrial standard.
Mm-hmm. So you would actually encourage China to join TPPA?
Okay, maybe it's not part of our research.
Anyway, just a bit digress just now. But I mean, when we talk about China's future, of course, we don't know whether China will join TPPA or not. But one thing for sure, China's ambitious on its vision for the Maritime Silk Route will definitely change the game plan for China and Southeast Asia. But we also have to realize, right now the world is changing. We see more and more terrorist activities, more and more refugee crises, and not to mention the power politics in this region and also the world has changed a lot. We see a weaker Europe, a US that is changing its foreign policy in in Asia with its Asia pivot, and now with China getting stronger economically, being the number 2 economy in the world. How do you foresee China's future with its Maritime Silk Route?
Yeah, as you say, China is already number 2 largest economy in the world, and with the Maritime Silk Route initiative, the China will be getting more and more stronger in terms of their economics and also political and also defense dynamics. Arlene?
Mm-hmm. And how would this shape China's political security?
Yeah, of course, China will be getting much stronger with countries in such as countries in ASEAN, looking forward to join the Silk Road, and in this way, there will be more and more countries joining China to develop the whole ASEAN region, Arlene.
Mm-hmm. Before we end the show, I know you have one pantun to share with all of us. Perhaps you can share with us now.
Let me end by saying a Malay proverb, Arlene. That is, gajah sama gajah bergaduh, pelanduk mati tengah-tengah. In English, it is translated as, when 2 elephants are fighting, a mouse deer dies in between.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's very, very deep. Anyway, thank you very much, Commander Ang.
You're welcome, Arlene.